Hello everyone. Welcome to our new series of videos designed to help you make the most out of your life experiences. CyberBrainer is an online training platform designed to help individuals and teams learn the latest technologies and become certified professionals, producing a comprehensive learning experience. In this tutorial video, we will discuss about Power BI. Power BI is an interactive visualization with self-service business intelligence that allows users to build reports and dashboards without IT or database administrators. It links to hundreds of on-premises and cloud data sources, efficiently analyzes enormous amounts of data, and visualizes and trends insights in real time. Stay around and watch the whole video series if you want to find out more about Power BI. Here are the topics covered in this video series. Data modeling. Product details. Visualizations. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel to know more about such interesting technologies and watch other videos in our CyberBrainer channel. For further details, contact us at sales@cyberbrainer.com. Now let us get into the video.
We are going to actually learn the concept of data modeling today. Okay, so we are starting a new topic altogether, and
Yes.
we'll continue with this and then again circle back to our raw data.
Okay.
Okay, so if you see here, these are very simple sample data set. I have taken small data so that it's easier to understand. So very simple sample data set out in here. Okay, and let's start with the very beginning syllable in here. So I have just remember the way we have got the mapping file. I entered the data. Okay,
Yes.
I entered this data and created this file so that we are able to understand the concept. The idea is to understand the concept here. So
Okay.
there are two tables rationally out in here. And you see here, being in Power BI desktop, you can also enter data set. Do you see? I'm hovering on that, creating a new
Okay.
table by typing or pasting in a new content, exactly the same way that you do it in Power Query. So I've done the same thing. I have created two tables. One is department, the other one is employee table. The common thing about these two tables are that, it's having uh, the same employee ID. And if you see, both the table has exactly the same number of rows and same number of employee ID. One is talking about a department, the other one is giving the first and last name. Okay, so that's one thing. Um, this table, where the IDs are unique. Do you see the IDs don't repeat? So wherever a table is there, and if a table and the IDs are unique, those are called dimension tables. So for us, the department table and the employee table are dimension tables. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and the number third concept is that if the employee IDs are not repeating, since both the tables are dimensions and the employee ID is not repeating, they are the primary key. Okay, so these are all the primary key. Now we'll understand more about this by building relation. Okay, so we'll have to actually go to data model to draw a relationship between employee ID and employee ID in department and employee ID. Let's do that real quick. So if you see, this is the data model platform. We click on the model view on your left. Okay. And once you click on there, you get to this page. So it actually shows the entire relationship, all tables. If you see on the below, there are pages, all table, etc. But I have simplified it by creating new pages. So if you see towards the end of this bottom layer, you can add page, just the way you add it in Power BI desktop. In the report section in simple fashion, you can add page and you can draw a diagram. Oops. Yeah. So you can draw a diagram. And what's happening here is, I've actually created this relation. Do you see there's a one-to-one relation? Now, I was talking about the one-to-one coordinate. Let me just delete this and let me show you how you can construct a relationship from the scratch. So you have employee ID here in the name table and the department table. All I'm gonna do today is drag this relationship, drop it here. Either way, it's gonna give me the same result. If I pick the employee ID from the department table and drag it here, it's gonna give me the same result. And that result is called one-to-one. So if you see, even Power BI recognizes the IDs, and it arrives at a point, if there are any duplicates or not. If it's one attached to a data table, simply means the ID that you're using has no duplicate. In a similar fashion over here in the department table, the ID that we are using, employee ID, has no duplicate. And that's the reason when we're building a relationship, it's a one-to-one relation. Now there's one more thing that you see here is the flow of information. Do you see the way this information
Yes.
is flowing? So there are arrows both the way. What it simply means is that this data table, employee, name, dimension, can control department table, and even the department table can control or drill down the data from employee name. Now you can how does it get determined? So if you actually double click here in this line, okay, this line is drawn, right? Let's double click on this line. You will see a tabular representation of the same relationship. Okay, so let's look at this tabular relationship. Exactly the same thing, but drawn over a table. So what is it showing? It shows the table on the top, which is department table, and the table on the bottom, employee table. It also shows the table that is connected, the column that is connected to both the table, that connects both the table, which is employee ID, right? And it also talks about the relationship, the cardinality that is there. Basically, cardinality means relationship. So the cardinality that both the table are sharing is one to one. And look at the cross filter direction. Cross filter direction means the flow of information, how the data gets drilled down. Both the table can drill down. So it's a one-to-one relationship, and this is a cardinality set to both. Now this is a default cardinality, you cannot change it literally. But if you want, you can actually keep it single. But if you see the filter direction you selected isn't valid. So it simply means that by default, a one-to-one relationship, the cross filter direction is always both. So what's the impact of this uh, flow of information, the cross filter direction? Let's look at this. So now that we have built a relation, okay, so look at the way the information will flow. If I click on this table here, right, in the department, you will see the employee table drills down. Now let's uncheck this selection, and let's say I try to pick something else from the employee table. The department table will drill down. So both the table communicates with each other. Okay. Now this again further cool things that's happening here. Okay, so we have combined both the tables. Okay, we combine one-to-one relationship from both the table, and these are simple data table. All right, so basically, if you look at the visual, the visualization is this one, just data table out here. Okay, so don't get worked out how are the tables been created. It's just a, in the report view or visualization has been used. Now look at this, combine one-to-one relationship with department employee ID. Now 1, 2, 3. Okay, department employee. Now this employee ID is coming from the department table, so I renamed this to department employee ID. The first name and the last name are coming from the employee table, where the employee names are stored. And again, the department table is coming from department column is coming from the department table. So employee ID comes from the department table. First name, last name comes from the employee table, and department again comes from the department table. That's a good part. And imagine now you everything coexists, and you don't even have to merge the queries. Merging the queries creates additional step, etc., etc. But with the power of data modeling, just draw the relation and directly build a visualization. And on the top of this, you can also write DAX, which we'll be entering very soon, maybe tomorrow and in tomorrow's or day after tomorrow's session. But that's the department employee, first name and last name. In a similar fashion, I've combined the other end, the employee ID from the employee table, first name, last name from the employee table, and department coming from the department table. You get exactly the same result because these are one-to-one relation, right? Now look at the magic this data plays. Since this is a one-to-one relationship, both way cross filter direction. So if I click on anything, everything drills down. Click on any table, everything will drill down. Do you see? Everything drills down because everything is linked and interlinked. So what do we see here, guys? Uh, Properties of dimension table. You, you know, both the tables are department table and employee table are dimension tables. They have unique records. The employee ID in both the table are unique. IDs are not repeating and does not have duplicate. And that's the reason, since the IDs don't repeat and don't have duplicate, they hold the primary key, which is the employee ID in both the table. So both the table have primary key and they are the employee IDs. All right, let's look at the next one. Let's look at this next few tables. Now I'm in the second tab, and you already know these two tables, something that we introduced in the previous tab, department table and employee table. Now I want to introduce a new table here. This is a fact table or diversity table. Look at the table. Here we have an employee ID and it has duplicate values. That's the number one thing that we see. And it talks fact. So it means it simply is giving more details about the employee ID. So over here, the first employee can speak English and Tamil, second employee can speak only English and Hindi. The third employee speaks English and French. And there's a fourth employee that we are bringing in, which is he or she speaks English. But the problem with this is that we do not have the data for the fourth employee. So let's see how the table reacts in the presence of a data that is not around. And what we are going to do is we are going to build and extend our relationship to diversity. So let's go back to the data table. And if you see here, from employee name to department, I have drawn a relation. And from department to diversity, I'm going to draw another relation. Okay, so let's look at this relation here. Let me delete this relationship for a moment. And let me drag this employee ID from here to here. Now, the first thing that you see here is, unlike the previous relationship where we had one-to-one, over here, look at the flow of the info. Look at the flow of the info. A one-to-many relationship. So over here, you see an asterisk here attached next to diversity. Okay, we're building a relationship on employee ID. The asterisk simply means that this have duplicate records. And over here, the employee ID has unique records. So this is my primary key, this is my fact table, and this is having the foreign key. Okay, a fact table has foreign key, dimension table has primary key. Primary keys are unique, it won't repeat. And diversity in the employee ID has um, duplicate values. That's the reason it's a foreign key. And the relationship that we are getting out of these two is one to many. Now, if you see here the cardinality, it says uh, many to one. So it's actually one and the same. You know, you say a one to many or many to one, it actually functions exactly the same. There's no problem to that. Many to one or one to many. All right. Now you can even change this to one to many without any hassle. If you want, you can simply keep the department on the top. Okay. Department table on the top, diversity on the bottom. Okay. And now you'll see that this is a one to many relation. Okay. The interesting thing to notice about here is that by default you get a single cross filter direction. It means only the department table or a dimension table, okay, will control the fact table. It means only a dimension table will control the fact table and will drill down its data. So if you click one, it drills down all the possibility. Okay. But you can also set it to both. Okay. Which means if you set it to both, even diversity table can control the department table. You can see its live impact. So you can see its live impact. Uh, if I keep it single, okay. So if I, okay, now that's an interesting fact. Okay, so what have we built a relationship on? Department to diversity, right? So look at the department table. I'm going to click on department table, and for a moment, let me just make this employee table disappear. I can actually make a table disappear. So if you see here, I click on view, I click on selection. I can select a table that I don't want to view. I have the employee table dimension, right? So I simply hide it and it goes off. I can bring it back in a moment, but just to have a better clarity, I'm just keeping the department and diversity, the relationship that I have built. So click on department. Okay. And you see diversity drills down gives me both the language that this person is speaking. In similar fashion, we've written 3 rows for employee ID 2, and similarly third. Now, if you try to click on here, nothing drills down in the department table. Do you see? Select, nothing drills down, nothing, right? You go back to the model view, and if you now turn on the cross filter direction to both, save this. Look at this now. This one is anyways drilling business as usual. But if you click on employee D2 from the diversity table, you'll see even the department tables drills down. Okay. But remember, I just hid a table here, right? Now, this table, if you look at a holistic in a holistic approach, look at this, Upasan. Employee table is linked to department. not to diversity. But what I'm saying over here is that even the employee table is indirectly linked to diversity table because of the relation. So data model is really a powerful concept. Your employee name is also linked to diversity. What does that mean? That if you take something from the employee table as well, let's say I drill down something from the employee table. Let's say I pick this first employee. You will see the department table is drilling down as well as the fact table, diversity, right? Similarly, it's a cross-filter selection to both the relationships. So diversity is impacting department and it will also impact the employee table because employee table is hooked to department table. So if I pick something from the diversity, both the table drills. Now, if I look more into this, so I'm actually combining everything with everything. So I'm combining the employee ID, the first name and the last. Employee ID from the employee table, first name, last name from the depart employee table again, department from the department table, and language spoken from the diversity fact table. Do you see the way this is duplicating the rows? So it is now, in fact, talking or giving out more facts. So one employee ID, Tarja Trunan, and department is A, and it's giving two rows because she speaks two language. Similarly, the other folks out here. But there is one strange thing that has come up here is that the fourth employee has no records. And that's simply because the fourth employee has no records in the department employee table. And that's the reason we are getting a blank value. But do we really get a blank value? I mean, we don't get any return, but let's see if we are covering anything blank. It's actually that we are covering a blank. So if you see the employee ID, if I remove the blank, you will see there is an additional row out in here, which is on the top. Someone speaks English. Since the employee ID is coming from the employee table, first name, last name is coming from the employee table, and department is coming from the department table. And these dimensions table have no records for the fourth employee. That's the reason is showing just the language, but no results for these because it has no records. As simple as that. And what I have done is I have hidden that. So I simply click on employee ID and I say in the filter, do not show me any blank values. So hope that makes sense. All right. Now let's move on. Okay, so we have understood this concept out in here. Let's move on to the next best concept, which is called many-to-many cardinality. What are we talking when we are talking about many-to-many cardinality? Now you already know the table that we are seeing here, the diversity. This table is something that we have already seen in the previous slide deck. I'm introducing one more fact table that talks about the employee IDs and it talks about their skills. Power App, Power BI, SQL, employee 1. Employee 2 has Spotfire, paginated report, Power App, Power Automate, Power BI, wonderful, lot of skill. Uh, Employee 3 has paginated report. Okay, employee 2 has Power BI and Spotfire. Employee 3 has paginated report, Power App, Power Automate, and Power BI. And employee 4, there is a row that I've created and I just mentioned as no skill. Maybe he's a fresher, which is okay. No problem. No harm to have no skills. And we are going to build a many-to-many relation. Okay. So let's go to the data here and let's build this many-to-many relation. Now, many-to-many relationship, as the name suggests, you see, we are actually picking up two fact tables. The fact tables have employee IDs and these employee IDs are foreign keys. And when two foreign keys are sharing relation with each other, it ends up into many to many. So you see there are asterisk here and there are asterisk here. And if you look into this relation, okay, let me just delete this relation and let me just build this relation for once on employee ID from skill set to diversity. Okay, this is one way of building a relation. Okay, now let me show you one more way of building a relationship in Power BI, which is this one: manage relationship on the top. It's a tabular way of building the same diagram. So if you click on new, and let's say I keep skill set on the top and diversity on the bottom, and link this employee ID here and this here. So this is the tabular way of creating the relationship. Over there, you were dragging and dropping the relation. So that was the diagram view. This is the tabular view. So what do we exactly get here? Let's look at the details of a many-to-many relation and cardinality. Of course, it has duplicate values, and these both are hooked to each other by employee ID, skill set, and diversity. Cardinality is many-to-many. And if you look here, okay, we have a cross filter direction that is set to both. Now, by default it is set to both, okay, but you can also set to a different mode altogether. So we have other modes in here, like if you want only the diversity to control the skill set, or if you want only the skill set to filter out diversity, so you can even set it that way. But I would like to keep it both, because that's more effective and much easier to pick up on many to many relation. Now look at this note. There's a note that you get here. Okay, so look at this note that you get when you're building on a relationship. The relationship has a cardinality many to many. This should only be used if it is expected that neither column, employee ID from the skill set and the employee ID from diversity, contains unique values, which is true. And that significantly different behavior of many to many relationship is understood. So Power BI gives a disclaimer that only if you understand the concept of many to many relationship, please go ahead and use it. Else do not, otherwise it will end up into confusion. But we would like to be confused, and I would like to make this relationship active, and I would like to click on OK. And you see we have established a relation. So what is the impact of this relation? If I click Power App from employee ID 1, it is going to show me all the results from the diversity table. Even if I click the second row, I get 2 rows from the diversity table. Similarly, if I click on the third row, I still continue getting the employee ID. Now let's drill down and shrink this data. Okay, so I'm going to actually go to filter, okay, and I'm going to shrink the employee. Now I'm actually taking this employee ID from the skill set table, filter on this page, and just going to shrink on employee ID 1. Why? That way, I'll be able to explain this better, and we'll have a further smaller portion to understand many to many relationship. Now, if you see many to many relationship now from skill set, okay, so I'm taking the employee ID from the skill set. Skill sets come from the, and if you look at the language, so you'll see that it repeats the set of language that that particular employee speaks twice. So employee 1 has a skill set Power App, and he speaks 2 languages, English and Tamil, and that's repeated. Similarly, it gets repeated in the Power BI section segment as well. So it's actually taking a set and repeating itself, right? So if you look at this, It's creating a set and it's repeating itself. Similarly, if you see here from diversity table, employee ID from diversity language spoken and skill set. Over here also, it's repeating itself. So just like the other records, it's repeating itself. So here, the person has 3 skill set. So one thing that you will see common is that the table returns the same number of rows. We have 6 rows been written. So if you see for a particular employee, the number of rows that it's possibly going to return is 3 into 2, 6. Okay. Now it does not mandatorily say that if I remove the filter, okay, so let's say I clear the filter here, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And over here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it does not mean 10 into 8 it will return 80 rows. Okay, so if you look now, it may return lesser rows. So it's trickier the way these returns rows. So it will not be always 80 rows. So probably how much row it can return is dependent on the number of values that are available in both the tables. So employee 1 has 3 into 2, 6. Employee 2 has 2 rows in here, skills, and 3 rows in here. So again, 2 into 3, 6. So 6 plus 6, 12 rows. And then over here, the employee third has 4 skill sets, and he speaks 2 languages, English and French. So 4 into 2, 8. So 8 plus 12, 20. And the fourth employee has no skills. Okay, so it returns only 1 row, so no skills over here, and English, and that particular employee speaks English, so it will return only 1 row. So it will return only 21 rows. So in case if you are catching up on an interview in Power BI and you're given a data set like this, many cardinality, and you're asked how many number of rows it will return, this is the way you calculate in mind and say that, hey, it's going to return only 21 rows, not 80 rows. Yeah, okay. So that's the skill set and the diversity. Now, let's go a step ahead. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to delete this relation. I'm rather going to go to the properties of this relation, that tabular view. And you see there is an option over here to keep a relationship active. So if you look at here, I am simply clicking to make this relation active. So if I uncheck this button, right, this relationship will stay, but it will not function. So it will simply deactivate the relation. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do here for a moment. I'm going to hit OK. Now there are several ways of deactivating a relationship. You delete it completely is off, or you come over here, double click on the line, it'll come to this dialog box and just simply uncheck here. Or there is also a way you can activate and deactivate a relationship by directly clicking on the manage relation. So you see skill set versus diversity, right? Are deactivated. Now you can actually come over here and activate the relationship in a single click. Okay, so that's also possible. But what I'm planning to do is, now once you deactivate a relationship, this bold line gets dotted. Okay, and if you see here, the last tab that I have, many to many relation or many to many cardinality, but in the presence of a dimension table. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a employee ID as a dimension table. Okay, so if you look here, I am introducing an employee ID as a dimension table. So nothing much, but I'm just introducing a dimension table which talks about employee ID, and it's a unique record, nothing else. It has just the unique record employee ID 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to hook this table to both these tables. So in here, if I go to the data model into this last tab, so I have this dimension table out in here that is already hooked to, you know, uh, is already hooked to skill set and diversity. Okay, so it's a one-to-many relationship, obviously, because this dimension table employee ID has unique records and it's going to a skill set. All right, so it's a one-to-many and one-to-many over here as well on the diversity. Now let's just activate these relationships. Now this time I'm going to activate the relationship by going to manage. Dimension table is there, right? Dimension table to diversity and dimension table to. Let's activate these two relation. Close this. And you see now a bold line appears. So what happens in the presence of a dimension table is very beautiful to see. If you click here, you see nothing changes on the diversity. If I click here in the diversity, nothing changes on the skill set because both the tables are no more directly linked to each other. Do you see? The relationship is deactivated. So it's not the skill set and diversity is no more directly related, but they are indirectly related to to the to each other by this dimension table. So skill set and diversity are two fact tables linked to each other indirectly through this dimension table. Okay. So if I go just a little down, look at this dimension table with skill set. This employee ID is coming from the dimension table. Now, if you look here for more clarity and go to the visualization, see the employee ID is coming from the dimension table. Skill set is coming from the skill set. Okay. So dimension table, employee ID is coming from the dimension table. Skill set is coming from the skills. And in similar fashion, the dimension table with diversity. Here also, the employee ID is coming from the dimension table. The language spoken is coming from diversity. Now, what I was telling is that these are indirectly related to each other. The skill set and diversity are indirectly linked to each other through this dimension table, through the presence of dimension table. So it means that if I pick something from here, it will exactly show similar results as we just saw in the previous exercise. See, it's just drilling down the data. But then the question comes here, can we just not coexist the relation with each other? Can't we not build all the table together? Let's imagine I have this employee ID and language spoken in here, right? This employee ID is coming from the dim table language spoken. And what if I try to bring something from the skills? Okay, let's say I have this skill set, and let's say I'm trying to bring the skill set. You'll see it will result in an error. And if you see the details, you'll simply say that can't display the relation because powerBI can't determine the relationship in two or more fields. And that's very simple and expected because there is no direct relationship between skill set and diversity. So that's the many-to-many relationship. Okay, so let's summarize everything that we just saw. We have the many-to-many cardinality. It has multiple fact tables, does not have a unique record. The IDs are not repeating. Both the table have foreign keys. There are no primary keys in a many-to-many relationship, right? And if we combine the two tables, it will give us all the possible combination from the tables. So that's the that's the data modeling all about. So we're talking about this relationship, right, and how it's working. So let's look at all the transformation that we did here. So 2010, 19, 20, 21, 22, we can actually ignore this. Append query, we can ignore this. Mapping file. What is this table? Look at the IDs over here. Let's say our ID over here is the store location. Okay. So the store location is the ID. And if you see, this is a dimension table, a classic example of dimension table, because none of the values in the store location are repeating. Against store location, we have the state location. State location can go duplicate. Maybe there are two cities following the same state. We have store location and state location. It is a dimension table. Now let's look at the other transformation that we did. The sales data group by is again a dimension, right? Now, if we are considering store location as the ID, this is a dimension table, unique records. What else? We have the pivot table, right? That's also a dimension table. So we have all the dimension table. Now let's look at a fact table, which is the sales data. Now look at the store location here, and it's repeating multiple times, and that's the reason I'm calling it a fact table. But there is a catch here. The sales data, okay, has something called index. Do you see? And if you look at the index, okay, from an index perspective, it has unique records.